Physics is usually a rigid set of laws. Gravity pulls down, friction slows things down. But sometimes, nature decides to break the rules. Come with me to a parking lot in New Albany, Indiana. It is Saturday morning, December 11th, 2021. The air is cold, crisp, the kind of morning that feels innocent. Katie Poston is walking to her car. It's a mundane moment, keys in hand, coffee maybe. She is 130 miles away from the Kentucky border. 130 miles. And there, stuck to the windshield of her car, is a piece of paper. It's wet. It's clinging to the glass like a leaf. Katie peels it off. It's a photograph, black and white, frayed edges. It shows a woman holding a young child, dressed in the fashion of the 1940s. On the back, scrawled in faint cursive, is a name, Gertie Swatzell. And a location, Dawson Springs. Katie doesn't know it yet, but she is holding a ghost, because Dawson Springs is not nearby. Dawson Springs is 130 miles to the southwest. How does a slip of photo paper, something so fragile that it would tear in a gentle breeze, travel the distance of a 2-hour highway drive without being destroyed? To answer that, we have to go back. We have to understand the engine that launched it. We have to go back to the darkness of the night before, because that photograph didn't just fly. It was carried by a monster. This is the story of the night the sky touched the ground. Over the next 45 minutes, we are going to reconstruct the forensic timeline of the deadliest December tornado outbreak in United States history. We will analyze the meteorology, the structural engineering, and the human spirit under pressure. If you are ready to step into the impact zone, keep listening. December 10th, Friday. In Mayfield, Kentucky, something feels wrong. If you live in the American South, you know the feeling. It's called tornado weather. But this is December. It's supposed to be freezing. It's supposed to be gray. Instead, the thermometer is pushing 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The air is heavy. It sticks to your skin. It smells like wet asphalt and electricity. Meteorologists call this loading the gun. You have a massive dome of warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, surging north. It's colliding with a cold front punching in from the Pacific, and sitting right on top of them is the jet stream, screaming overhead at 150 miles per hour. It is a volatile cocktail, but on the ground, in Mayfield, life is going on. Mayfield is a town of 10,000 people. It's a place of brick storefronts, a historic courthouse with a tall clock tower, and industry. At the Mayfield Consumer Products factory, the parking lot is full. It is the height of the Christmas rush. This factory makes candles, Bath and Body Works candles, the kind you buy as stocking stuffers, strawberry, pine, vanilla bean. Inside, the air is thick with fragrance. Imagine the sensory overload, the hum of the conveyor belts, the smell of hot wax, the heat of the machinery adding to the unseasonable warmth outside. There are 110 people on the floor tonight. Among them is Kyanna Parsons-Perez. She's energetic. She's the kind of person who laughs loud enough to be heard over the machines. She's joking with her coworkers, trying to keep the mood light. It's a Friday night shift. Nobody really wants to be there, but the overtime pay is good, and Christmas is 2 weeks away. There is a concept in psychology called normalcy bias. It is the brain's defense mechanism against catastrophe. When we see clouds, we think rain. When we hear a siren, we think drill. Inside the factory, the bias is in full effect. The lights are bright. The production quota is set. The walls are solid metal and concrete. It feels permanent. It feels safe. But 300 miles to the west, in Arkansas, the atmosphere has just shattered. A supercell thunderstorm has formed. A supercell is not just a storm. It is a rotating updraft, a mesmerizing, terrified carousel of wind and hail. And this one has found the perfect fuel. It begins to rotate. Most tornadoes are like tantrums. They drop down, destroy a barn, and dissipate in 10 minutes. They are violent, but short-lived. This storm is different. This storm is an endurance runner. By 6 p.m., it has already crossed state lines. It is feeding on that warm December air, growing stronger with every mile. It is moving fast, over 50 miles per hour. Think about that speed. If you are in a car doing 50, and the storm is behind you, you are not outrunning it. You are racing it. Let's move to the newsroom of WPSD-TV in Paducah, Kentucky. Trent Okerson is the chief meteorologist. He has been watching this cell for hours. He's standing in front of the green screen, watching the radar sweep, 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 sweep. Technology has changed the game. We don't just see rain anymore, we see velocity. We see the wind moving toward the radar, and the wind moving away. When those two colors, usually red and green, touch on the screen, it's called a couplet. It means rotation. But Trent is looking for something else. He is looking for the CC drop, the correlation coefficient. This is the grim science of modern disasters. The radar beam sends out a pulse. When it hits raindrops, the raindrops are uniform. They are all roughly the same shape. The signal comes back clean. But when the radar beam hits, other things, 2x4s, insulation, roof shingles, mattresses, the signal comes back messy. The correlation drops. At 7 p.m., the storm is crossing into the boot heel of Missouri. Trent is watching the screen. He sees the couplet tighten. It's glowing like a neon warning sign. And then he sees the debris ball, a solid ball of matter, being lofted 20,000 feet into the air. This is the moment the abstract becomes real. Trent knows, looking at that pixelated blob, that he isn't looking at weather anymore. He is looking at pieces of people's lives. There is no doubt, he thinks. This is a life-threatening tornado. But the factory in Mayfield is still miles away. They have time. Or so they think. 8 p.m. The shift at the candle factory is in full swing. The scents of the holidays, cinnamon, peppermint, are clashing with the growing tension. Phones start to buzz. Weather apps are lighting up. Tornado. Watch turns into tornado warning inside the plant. The supervisors make a call. They initiate the severe weather protocol. Now, I want you to visualize the layout. This is a massive industrial metal building, large open floor plans, high ceilings. In a structure like this, there are very few safe places. There is no basement. The protocol is to move everyone to the interior hallways, the bathrooms, the areas away from the exterior walls. Kyanna Parsons-Perez and her co-workers stop the line. They wipe their hands. They walk, maybe a bit annoyed at the interruption, toward the designated shelter areas. There is a strange social dynamic that happens in these moments. You look at your neighbor. If they look scared, you get scared. If they look bored, you relax. Richard Padilla, another worker, a transplant from Puerto Rico. He's watching the ceiling. He's listening. The noise inside a factory is constant, but outside, the world is changing. The wind is picking up. Not the howling wind of a movie, but a low, pressure change wind. Your ears pop. The air pressure is dropping so fast, it physically hurts. 8:30 p.m. The storm crosses the Mississippi River. It enters Kentucky. It has now traveled over 100 miles on the ground. This is unheard of. It is a grinder. It is scouring the earth. In Bremen, in Dawson Springs, in Casey, people are scrambling into cellars. They are putting on bicycle helmets. They are clutching pillows. But in Mayfield, the lights are still on. The factory workers are huddled in the hallway. They are sitting on the floor, knees to chests. Some are texting family. I'm scared. Don't worry, it'll pass. Love you? The digital breadcrumbs of the modern age. 9 p.m., 30 minutes out. The radar signature is now monstrous. The hook echo, the classic shape of a tornado, is massive. It is wrapping rain around itself, hiding the funnel. This is a critical danger. It's night. The power is starting to flicker in the county. You cannot see the tornado. You can't look out the window and spot a funnel cloud. It is wrapped in curtains of rain and absolute darkness. You have to trust the voice on the radio. You have to trust the siren. And then, the siren begins. It is a mournful sound, a mechanical wail that rises and falls, echoing off the brick buildings of downtown Mayfield. It cuts through the humidity. Inside the factory, the mood shifts. The jokes stop. Kyanna is checking her Facebook. She's trying to distract herself, but the air feels charged. Static electricity makes the hair on your arms stand up. The supervisors are pacing. They are checking head counts. Everyone is accounted for. 110 souls. But they don't know the structural reality. They don't know that an EF4 tornado, with winds exceeding 190 miles per hour, does not care about interior hallways. They don't know that the monster approaching them is wider than the factory itself. 9:15 p.m. The storm is in Graves County. Trent Okerson is on the air at WPSD. He is pleading now. The professional distance is slipping. He sees the track. He draws the line on the screen. It goes right through the heart of Mayfield. If you are in Mayfield, you need to be in your safe place now, he says. His voice is tight. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. At the factory, the lights flicker. Bzzzt, bzzzt. Darkness. Then the emergency lights kick in. The eerie, sickly glow of battery-powered halogens. Shadows lengthen. The sound of the rain changes. It goes from a patter to a roar. It sounds like gravel is being thrown against the metal siding. Richard Padilla looks up. The metal roof. Those massive steel beams. They are vibrating. 9:20 p.m., 6 minutes. The tornado is moving at 60 miles per hour. It is closing the distance at a mile a minute. It is tearing through the countryside just southwest of town. Trees are being snapped like toothpicks. Power poles are being twisted into corkscrews. The roar is audible now. Survivors often say it sounds like a freight train. But that's a cliche. A train has a rhythm. Clack, 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 clack. This is a constant, deafening, grinding roar. It is the sound of the earth being chewed up. In the hallway, people are crying. Some are praying. Kyanna is holding on to the person next to her. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. She is saying it to convince herself. 9:25 p.m., 1 minute. The pressure drop is intense. It feels like the room is inflating. Your head swims. The outer winds, the inflow jets, are feeding the beast. They are sucking the air out of the building. The doors are rattling in their frames, slamming back and forth. Bang, bang, bang. The smell of pine and strawberry candles is suddenly overpowered by the smell of dirt, fresh, pulverized earth, and ozone. The beast is here. Imagine the scale. A funnel, nearly a mile wide, is entering the city limits. It hits the residential streets first. Houses explode, not crumble, explode. The pressure differential rips the walls outward. It's heading for the courthouse square. It's heading for the factory. Inside, the roar drowns out everything. You can't hear the person screaming next to you. The floor begins to shake, not a vibration, a bounce. Richard Padilla sees the wall. The massive exterior wall of the plant bow inward like it's made of rubber. For a split second, time stops. The normalcy bias is gone. The illusion of safety is shattered. The sky is about to touch the ground, and it is going to bring the roof down with it. 9:26 p.m. If you were to freeze this second in time, if you were to pause the universe right now, you would see a city on the edge of extinction. At the Mayfield Consumer Products factory, the air inside the hallway has changed state. It is no longer just air. It is a pressurized solid. The ears of 110 people pop violently. It is the feeling of descending in an airplane, multiplied by 10. Richard Padilla is near the center of the building. He is looking at the ceiling. Now, remember, this is a factory. The ceiling is not drywall. It is industrial steel. It is girders. It is sheet metal. It is heavy. Richard hears a sound that defies logic. It is not the wind. It is the building itself screaming. The metal rivets, thousands of them, are shearing off all at once. Ping, ping, ping. It sounds like a machine gun battle. And then, Richard sees it. The ceiling doesn't fall down, not at first. It goes up. The physics of a tornado are often misunderstood. We think of it as a giant fan blowing things over. But it's not just wind. It's a vacuum. The pressure inside the funnel is so much lower than the pressure inside the building that the factory effectively explodes outward. It is trying to equalize the pressure. The roof lifts, just for a heartbeat. It hovers, and in that gap, between the walls and the roof, the sky enters. The wind inside the hallway goes from 0 to 200 miles per hour in less than a second. This is the moment of impact. This is the 0 hour. Imagine the sound. It is no longer a roar. It is a physical frequency that vibrates your chest cavity. It shakes your teeth. It is so loud that it cancels out all other input. You cannot hear yourself scream. You cannot hear the person next to you dying. The lights explode. Pop. Total, absolute darkness. And then, gravity takes over. The roof, tons of steel, concrete, HVAC units, water pipes, machinery comes crashing down. It doesn't happen in slow motion. That is a movie trope. In real life, violence is instantaneous. 1 second you are sitting on the floor, clutching your knees, looking at the emergency lights. The next second, you are being crushed. The sensation is confusion. Why am I wet? Why can't I move my legs? Why is there grit in my mouth? Kyanna Parsons. Perez is slammed into the ground. It feels like the earth has swallowed her. She is face down. There is a weight on her back that feels like a car. Dust. It's the first thing that registers after the impact. The air is instantly replaced by pulverized drywall and insulation. It enters the nose, the throat. It coats the lungs. You cough, but you can't inhale deep enough to clear it because there is debris compressing your chest. For 10 seconds, the noise continues. The grinder is passing directly overhead. It is chewing the building. It is rearranging the geography of the floor plan. And then, as quickly as it started, the roar fades. It moves on. The locomotive drives off to the east, and it leaves behind silence. But it's not a peaceful silence. It is a heavy, ringing silence, the kind that hurts your ears. Let's stay in the dark. Do not imagine a rescue scene yet. Imagine the sensory deprivation. It is pitch black. You cannot see your hand in front of your face. You are trapped in a tangle of twisted metal and concrete. You are wet because the roof is gone, and the rain is now pouring directly onto the rubble. The water is freezing cold. The temperature is dropping. Kyanna tries to move. She can't. Her legs are pinned. She can feel something heavy, maybe a water fountain, maybe an air conditioning unit, pressed against her lower body. Panic begins to set in. This is the primal brain waking up. I am trapped. I am going to die here. She reaches for her pocket. It is a reflex of the 21st century. In the moments of our greatest peril, we reach for the device that connects us to the world, her phone. It's still there. It's unbroken. She tries to dial 911. Call failed. She tries again. Network busy. Imagine the terror of that signal. The cell towers are gone, or they are overloaded. The infrastructure of civilization has been wiped off the map. She is alone in the dark, surrounded by the groans of her coworkers. But Kyanna, she is a fighter. She realizes she has a data signal, faint, but there. She opens Facebook. She hits live. This is one of the most haunting documents of the disaster. It is not a news report. It is a message in a bottle, thrown into the digital ocean. The screen is black. You can't see anything. You can only hear. We are trapped, she says. Her voice is trembling, but it is loud. Please, y'all, get us some help. We are at the candle factory in Mayfield. Listen to the background of that recording. It is a soundscape of hell. You hear moaning. You hear people screaming names. Help me! My legs! My legs! Is anyone there? I can't breathe. Kyanna becomes a beacon. In the chaos, she starts to talk to the others. She becomes the anchor. Calm down, she says. Y'all stop screaming. You're wasting your air. Think about the presence of mind that takes to be pinned under 5 feet of debris, uncertain if you will ever see the sun again, and to take command. She starts to read the comments popping up on her screen. They're coming, she tells the darkness. Jean says she called the police. They know we're here. She is lying, or maybe she's hoping. She doesn't know if anyone is coming. For all she knows, the police station is gone too, but she keeps talking. She keeps the hope alive, because in a collapse, hope is a physiological necessity. If you panic, your heart rate spikes. You use more oxygen. If you use more oxygen in a confined space, you pass out. And if you pass out, you die. Kyanna is keeping them alive with her voice. Let's pull back, up through the rubble, up through the rain. Let's look at the town of Mayfield. If you looked at a map of the city before 9:26 p.m., you saw a grid, streets, neighborhoods, landmarks. At 9:30 p.m., the map is wrong. The tornado has cut a scar through the town. It is a mile wide. Inside that scar, there are no landmarks. The chaos is total. Cars have been thrown into living rooms. Living rooms have been thrown into trees. Trees have been stripped of their bark, leaving them looking like bleached skeletons in the lightning flashes. At the courthouse, the heart of the county. The clock tower is gone. The massive brick structure has been sheared off. The hands of the clock face that remains are frozen. 9:26. It is a tombstone for the old Mayfield. Let's go to Trent Okerson at WPSD. He is still on the air. He has been on the air for hours. He is exhausted. But now, he is looking at something that scares him more than the radar. He is looking at the velocity couplet again. The storm is moving away from Mayfield now. It is heading toward Dawson Springs. It is heading toward Bremen. It hasn't weakened. Usually, when a tornado hits a town, the friction of the buildings disrupts the airflow. It slows down. It lifts. The buildings kill the storm. But this monster, this quad-state beast, it didn't blink. It chewed through a factory, through a courthouse, through 1,000 homes. And it just kept going. It is feeding on an energy source that shouldn't exist in December. Trent has to make a choice. He wants to stop. He wants to call his family. He wants to cry. But he is the only voice in the dark for the next town over. If you are in Dawson Springs, he says, staring into the camera lens, you are next. This is a catastrophic debris signature. You need to be underground. Back at the factory, the smell is changing. It's no longer just dust. It's natural gas. A main line has ruptured. The hissing sound joins the chorus of screams. This is the secondary nightmare, fire. If a spark hits that gas, the rubble pile becomes a furnace. Richard Padilla smells it. He is trapped near the chemical storage. The candle wax, thousands of gallons of paraffin, has spilled. It is slick. It covers everything. So, now, the survivors are coated in a layer of scented wax, trapped in the dark, inhaling gas fumes. Richard pushes. He finds a gap, a pocket in the twisted steel. He crawls. He is moving blindly. His hands touch things he doesn't want to identify. Wet insulation, sharp metal, soft things. He pushes upward. He sees a flash, lightning, real sky. He claws his way out. He stands up on top of what used to be the roof. The rain lashes his face. He looks around. He expects to see the factory walls. He expects to see the parking lot. He sees nothing. The parking lot is a moonscape. The cars are gone. Not just moved, gone, thrown into the fields half a mile away. The building is flat. It looks like someone stepped on a soda can. And in the distance, he sees the lights, not streetlights, flashlights. The community is coming. There is a unique sound that happens after a disaster. It starts with one siren, then 2, then 10, then the sound of tires, trucks, jeeps, SUVs. The Cajun Navy, that volunteer army of everyday people with boats and trucks, is too far away to help yet. But the neighbors aren't. People from the untouched parts of the county are grabbing leather gloves. They are grabbing crowbars. They are running toward the rubble. They don't have orders. They don't have a plan. They just run. At the factory, the first rescuers arrive. They are met with a scene that looks like a war zone. The structure is unstable. The metal is groaning. "Over here! I hear someone!" A flashlight beam cuts through the rain. It lands on a hand sticking out of the debris. This is the beginning of the human chain. You can't bring heavy machinery in yet. A bulldozer would crush the survivors. You have to dig with your hands. Men and women line up. They pass chunks of concrete, bucket by bucket, brick by brick. Heave! Heave! It is a rhythm of desperation. Kyanna is still streaming. She hears them. I hear you! She screams at her phone. We're down here. The rescuers hear the voices from below, but they can't tell where they are coming from. The acoustics of a collapsed building are tricky. The sound bounces around the twisted metal. Keep yelling! A rescuer shouts down. Keep making noise! Kyanna grabs a piece of metal. She starts banging on the debris. Clang, clang, clang. It is the universal code of survival. I am here. I am here. But not everyone is making noise. And this is the tragedy we must acknowledge. Jill Monroe, Janine Williams. Use the names. They are not statistics. They were working the line just like Kyanna. They were laughing. Now, they are silent. The storm is a thief. It steals futures. It steals Christmas mornings. It steals the chance to say goodbye. As the rescuers dig, they start to find them, the ones who didn't make it, and the protocol changes. Medic turns into silence. A lowered head. A tarp is brought over. The survivors in the rubble sense the shift. They know what it means when the shouting stops for a moment. They know that someone near them has been found, and they aren't waking up. The psychological toll of this moment cannot be overstated. You are trapped in the dark, praying to be found, while realizing that the person you were talking to 5 minutes ago is gone. While Mayfield bleeds, the beast travels on. It crosses into Muhlenberg County. It enters Bremen. Let's pause the rescue for a moment and look at the engine of this storm again. We need to understand why it was so violent, why it refused to die. Usually, a storm needs balance, updraft and downdraft. But this supercell was discrete. That means it was all alone. It didn't have other storms competing with it for energy. It was the only predator in the jungle. It had access to an endless supply of warm, unstable air flowing up from the Gulf. It was like a fire in a room filled with gasoline vapor. And it was moving fast. Forward speed is crucial. Because the storm was moving at 60 miles per hour, it never stayed over the rain-cooled air it created. It was always eating fresh atmosphere. Meteorologists call this residence time. But in this case, the residence time was 0. It was a shark that had to keep swimming to survive. And it was swimming toward Dawson Springs. Remember the photograph? The one of Gertie Swatzell? This is where it lived. Dawson Springs is a small town, a quiet town. The storm hits it at 10:30 p.m. If Mayfield was a tragedy, Dawson Springs is an erasure. The tornado widens. It reaches EF4 intensity again. It hits the housing developments. There is a specific horror to a residential tornado strike. A factory is steel. A house is wood and glass. When the vortex hits a house, it doesn't just knock it down, it atomizes it. The debris ball on the radar grows larger. It is now lofting family albums. It is lofting checks. It is lofting photographs. It picks up that photo of Gertie Swatzell. Physics takes over. The updraft carries the photo up, past the hail core, past the lightning, into the jet stream. 20,000 feet in the air. It enters the anvil, the flat top of the storm cloud. Here, the winds are blowing at 150 miles per hour to the northeast. The photo is ejected. It becomes a glider. It begins its long, silent flight over the sleeping Midwest. It flies over the wreckage of Bremen. It flies over the Ohio River. It crosses into Indiana, while below it, the world burns. Back in Mayfield, 2:00 a.m., the rain has stopped. The cold front has finally punched through. The temperature is plummeting. It is freezing now. The survivors who have been pulled out are shivering. They are covered in mud, wax, and blood. They are standing in the shell of the factory. Kyanna Parsons-Perez is out. She was pulled through a hole in the rubble. She is bruised. She is battered. But she is alive. She looks around at the devastation. The lights of the ambulances, red and blue, paint the ruins in a surreal disco strobe. She sees Richard. He is helping dig. She sees the faces of the community. People she doesn't know. People who drove 2 hours just to hold a flashlight. This is the dichotomy of disaster. Nature is cruel. It is indifferent. It will crush a town without malice. But humans are stubborn. We refuse to accept the math. We refuse to accept that a pile of rubble is the end. Someone starts a generator. A floodlight kicks on. The work continues. Kyanna takes a breath. It hurts. Her ribs are sore. But the air, the cold, clean air, tastes like victory. She pulls out her phone again. She posts an update. I'm out. I'm safe. And then she starts to cry. Not from fear, but from the release. The adrenaline crash. The realization that she was buried in a tomb. And she walked out. But the night isn't over. The sun won't rise for another 4 hours. And when it does, it will reveal a scar across the state of Kentucky that can be seen from space. A brown smear of mud and debris where civilization used to be. The question now is not, how did we survive? The question is, what do we do now? How do you rebuild a town when the blueprints are gone? How do you find closure when the objects of your life, your photos, your checks, your memories, are scattered across 3 states? The storm has lifted. The monster has dissolved back into the clouds. But the mystery remains. What was different about this night? Was it climate change? Was it bad luck? Or was it a warning? And that photograph, lying on a windshield in Indiana, is waiting to be found, waiting to tell its story. Dawn, December 11th. There is a specific quality to the light after a major tornado event. It is unfiltered. Usually, in a city, the light is broken up. It is blocked by trees, by roof lines, by billboards. It creates shadows. It creates depth. But when the sun rises over Mayfield on Saturday morning, the light is blinding. It hits the ground flat because there is nothing left to cast a shadow. Survivors. Those who have spent the last 6 hours huddled in basements or trapped in voids begin to emerge. They are blinking against the harshness of the day, and what they see, the brain struggles to process. It is not just that the buildings are gone, it is that the colors are gone. Mayfield was a town of red brick, green trees, white siding, yellow signs. Now, everything is gray. It is a monochromatic wasteland. Insulation, pulverized drywall, mud, and concrete dust have coated the entire world in a thick, fuzzy layer of gray. It looks like snow, but it is not snow. It is the confetti of 10,000 lives. Let's walk the path. We are walking down what used to be Main Street. The asphalt has been scoured. This is a term meteorologists use sparingly. An EF3 tornado will knock a house down. An EF4 will sweep the foundation clean. But an EF5, or a high-end EF4 like this, it does something else. It attacks the ground itself. The wind speed at the very surface was so intense, so focused, that it peeled the pavement off the road. It ripped the grass out of the soil by the roots, leaving only bare, red clay. It looks like a claw mark from a giant beast has been dragged across the map of Kentucky. We reach the courthouse. The clock tower, the symbol of the county, is a jagged stump. The clock face, miraculously, is still there, but it is frozen. 9:26. It is a permanent monument to the moment the world stopped. But look closer. Look at the details. Embedded in the brick wall of the courthouse, 3 feet deep, is a piece of lumber, a 2x4. It has been driven into the solid masonry like a nail. Wrapped around a debarked tree trunk, 20 feet in the air, is a metal bumper from a pickup truck. It is tied in a knot. Not bent. Tied. This is the physics of the impossible. When wind speeds cross the threshold of 200 miles per hour, air behaves like a liquid. It doesn't flow around objects. It flows through them. Wood becomes harder than concrete. Straw becomes a needle that can pierce a tire. The silence is the loudest thing. There are no birds. The local bird population has been decimated or blown into the next county. There are no cars. There is only the sound of heavy boots crunching on glass. Crunch, crunch. It sounds like walking on frozen snow. But it is the shattered windows of an entire city. How? This is the question that hangs over the smoking ruins. How does a storm of this magnitude happen in December? Let's retreat to the science. Let's go back to the radar room with Trent Okerson. Trent is looking at the data. He is looking at the history books. And he realizes he has just witnessed a black swan event. To understand the Quad-State Tornado, you have to understand the engine that built it. Think of a thunderstorm like a car engine. To run fast, you need three things: fuel, spark, and exhaust. The fuel, usually, in December, the fuel tank is empty. The Gulf of Mexico is cool. The air over Kentucky is dry and cold. Storms starve to death before they can grow. But 2021 was different. We were in a La Niña weather pattern, and the waters of the Gulf were running hot, record-breaking hot. This sent a plume of humid, tropical air surging north. It was a river of gasoline in the sky. The spark, a powerful cold front. The Pacific jet punched into that warm air. It provided the lift. It kicked the atmosphere upward. The exhaust. This is the key. This is why the Mayfield tornado didn't die. Usually, a storm chokes on its own rain. The rain falls into the updraft, cools it down, and the engine stalls. But on December 10th, the jet stream was screaming overhead at 150 knots. It acted like a giant vacuum cleaner. It sucked the air out of the top of the storm so fast that the updraft could never get clogged. It was a perfectly tuned, thermodynamic machine, and it had no brakes. The track of the tornado is what makes it a crime scene. Most tornadoes skip. They touch down, lift up, touch down again. This one stayed on the ground for 165 miles. It was on the ground for nearly 3 hours. Just think about that duration. Most tornadoes last 10 minutes. This one lasted as long as the movie Titanic. It crossed from Arkansas into Missouri, into Tennessee, into Kentucky. It didn't just break records, it shattered the tri-state tornado legend of 1925. It proved that in a warming world, the seasons of severe weather are disappearing. There is no tornado season anymore. There is just weather back in the rubble. The morning light reveals the true scale of the task at the candle factory. It is a twisted puzzle of steel. The Cajun Navy is here now. The National Guard is here. They are bringing in heavy lifters, cranes, excavators, but they have to be careful. Stop! Stop the rig! A whistle blows. Every engine cuts. Every generator is silenced. Sound off! A rescuer yells into a void. They listen. Nothing. Just the drip, drip, drip of water from a broken pipe. Clear! The engines roar back to life. This is the rhythm of the search. Hope, followed by silence. They are looking for the unaccounted. The roster of 110 employees is being checked and rechecked. Kyanna Parsons-Perez is at the hospital. She has been treated. She is physically okay, but she is frantically texting, checking the group chats. Have you seen Janine? Did Robert make it out? The confusion is total. Some people were taken to different hospitals. Some wandered away in shock and were picked up by strangers. This is the fog of disaster. We often think of death tolls as immediate, but in a mass casualty event, the numbers fluctuate. They breathe. We have 70 missing. No, wait. We found 20 in a church basement. Okay, 50 missing. Wait, we found a body. 49 missing. 1 confirmed dead. It is a torture of mathematics, and amidst the search for the people, there is the search for the self. Survivors are wandering the fields around the factory. They are looking for anything. A woman finds a purse. It's not hers. She opens it. Mud-soaked wallet, keys. She doesn't throw it away. She wipes it off. She puts it in a pile of identities. This pile grows throughout the day. A shoe, a Bible, a set of false teeth, a child's backpack with Spider-Man on it. These objects are radioactive with emotion. They are the only proof that a community existed here yesterday. Let's go back to Indiana, to the windshield of Katie Poston's car. She is holding that black and white photo. Gertie Swatzell. She takes a picture of it. She goes to Facebook. Now, social media is often a toxic place. It is full of noise and anger, but in the wake of a disaster, it transforms. It becomes a digital nervous system for a wounded world. Katie posts the photo. Found this on my car in New Albany, Indiana. It says Dawson Springs. Please share. She hits post. The internet takes over. The post is shared once, 10 times, 100 times. I know that name. My cousin lives in Dawson Springs. Let me check the census records. Within hours, the 6 degrees of separation collapses to 0. A man named Swatzell sees the post. He freezes. He is in Dawson Springs. His town is destroyed. He is standing in the wreckage of his family's history. He looks at his phone. He sees the face of his ancestor, Gertie Swatzell, his great-grandmother. He messages Katie. That's my family, that photo. It was in a box in our house. Our house is gone. Connect the dots. The house was pulverized. The box was shattered. The photo was lifted. It traveled through the freezing upper atmosphere, riding the jet stream at 30,000 feet, alongside the hail and the thunder, and it landed, gently, on a piece of glass 130 miles away. It is a miracle of aerodynamics, but it is more than that. When Katie drives down to Kentucky days later to return the photo, it is not just a handover of property. It is a closing of the loop. She meets the family. They are standing on a slab of concrete where a living room used to be. She hands them the photo. It's small, it's battered, but it's theirs. In a moment where they have lost everything, their clothes, their furniture, their roof, this single square of paper becomes the most valuable object on Earth. It is proof that they have a past. And if they have a past, they can have a future. This scene plays out thousands of times across the path. A check from a bank in Mayfield is found in a cornfield in Ohio. A high school diploma is found in a gutter in Louisville. A quilt is found tangled in a fence 3 counties over. The storm tried to scatter them. It tried to erase the map. But the people are sewing the map back together, one lost object at a time. Why do we live in these places? Why do we build towns in the path of monsters? We build them because the land is fertile. We build them because our grandfathers built them. We build them because we believe in the law of averages, that it won't happen to me. But the night of December 10th broke the law of averages. It taught us that the atmosphere is changing. It is becoming more energetic, more volatile. The gray line that cuts through Mayfield is slowly turning green again. Grass is growing back. New houses are being framed. The sound of hammers has replaced the sound of chainsaws. But the scar remains. If you fly over western Kentucky today, you can still see it. A faint difference in the vegetation. A ghost path. It serves as a reminder. We are small, we are fragile, we live on a planet that is alive. And sometimes, it wakes up. Kyanna Parsons-Perez still works. She still laughs. But she checks the weather app a little more often now. Trent Okerson still stands in front of the green screen. But when he sees the colors red and green touching, his heart beats a little faster. Mayfield is not just a place on a map anymore. It is a lesson. It is a lesson in the fragility of our normal. We wake up. We drink coffee. We go to work to make candles for Christmas. We think we are the main characters of the story. But to the wind, to the sky, we are just dust. And yet, when the dust settles, we stand up. We find a photo in a field. We hand it back to a stranger. And we say, I am still here. We are still here.